Hello friends, welcome to the channel. Now today I am in the BIOS of a Lenovo ThinkCentre M73, and I just want to quickly review a few things with you about these type of BIOS to help you to be more efficient in working around the Lenovo BIOS. So most people will go into the BIOS, and that when they're making changes, almost any changes, and that's many times that's the wrong move. So if you're working on a ThinkCentre like the Lenovo ThinkCentre M3, remember this: F1 gets you into the BIOS to make permanent changes. F12 will give you a one-time boot menu where, if for example you want to boot up off of a USB install disk, you do that and you don't have to worry about going back to set it or change it, right? So as a technician, I use F12 almost every time. It's faster and you don't risk messing up your client system. So right now I'm in the BIOS, so I'm gonna do a I'm gonna escape out, and then I'm gonna do toggle F1, which will get me into the setup, and I'm just gonna show you a few things with the boot order, right? So I'm just gonna go escape because I want to get out of this right now. So escape, and it comes up and say, do I want to reset without saving anything? So I say yes. So what I'm going to simulate is what you would do when you're first powering on your machine and you want to get into the BIOS to make some kind of permanent change, right? So this is me simulating powering the machine up. So the moment you start powering your machine up, you want to start toggling F1. Just keep pressing F1. See? And it comes up. And you're going to get a screen like this that tells you, okay, what do you want to do? I want to continue because I want to go into the BIOS to make some changes. In this case, I want to change something with my boot order. So I'm going to press enter. And this particular machine, like I said, is the ThinkCentre M73. But this is common with a lot of the M series, right? So no big difference here. So okay, so now I am in the BIOS. I can toggle over. I can use my mouse or I can use the keyboard, and I want to change boot order in this case. So I'm going over, and I'm in startup, right? So now I'm in startup, and you notice also it's highlighting primary boot sequence, right? So I can go back up. That's what I need when I want to change my boot order. And this is more a permanent set, right? So I would go enter, and now I'm given USB HD at the top. So normally this is not what you want, because what this means is every time you reboot, it's gonna find your USB HDD, and it's gonna boot off that by default. So most time you do not want this, right? When you have a hard disk drive, you don't want this. So now if you look at that, you see USB HDD, and you also, if you come further down, you see a USB key. Now what's going on here? What's the difference? So just a little tip here is that for most situation, if you choose USB key or USB HDD, it will work, because most tools nowadays like Ventoy or Rufus, they will basically format your USB, your small USB key. Technically it's a USB key, but it will be formatted to be like appear like a USB drive to the system. So for that purpose, you don't have to worry whether it's set for USB key or USB HDD if you're booting up off of a USB drive, right? But personally, I wouldn't do that here because I want it to be a one-time thing. if you ever start installing Windows and you set it to boot up off the USB HDD, and you set it and forget it, you will start building Windows, and then it gets to the point where it restarts, and next thing you know, it's booting up off your USB again. So that's what will happen when you set it like a permanent set, like in this case. Okay, so let's say I want to change my boot order. I don't want to go, I really don't want USB HDD to be there. So how do I change that? I'm just going to go up to my drive. This is my hard disk drive, and that's what I wanted to boot. That's my permanent setup. So you notice I'm on that. So if you want to move that over, if you notice on the left side, on the right side over here, it tells you how to actually move that. So you see you have here, you select it, and there's a plus and there's a minus, depends on what you want to do. So to take it down, you just press the minus, see, and it takes it further down. But in this case, I don't want to take it down. I want to take it to be in my number one spot. So on my keyboard, I would then need to press the plus. And to press the plus, you would need to press shift and then plus, because that's what gets you moved to plus, right? So now it's in the number one position, and that's where it would boot up off of my drive, and that's what I would want all the time, right? So I could just restart and it would just boot right into my operating system. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how you engage the F12 to do a temporary boot off of a USB drive or a USB key. So let's say you're building Windows, or you're reinstalling Windows, and you want to boot up off of a Windows 11 CD that you've created, a USB disk that you've created. So I'm going to simulate that now. So first thing, you want to put your USB, your already made install disk, in your computer, preferably at one of the ports at the back, because those ports actually will give you more power. That's the best place to put it, as opposed to the front, right? So I have my USBs in there. I actually have I think that's a Linux same disk that's in there, and I'm just going to show you quickly how you get that engaged. So I'm going to escape out of this right now. So I'm going to go escape and escape, and because I've made changes, it's going to ask me if I want to save that. So I'm going to say yes, but at the same time I'm going to save it, and then as soon as it's coming up, I'm going to press F12 to simulate what you would do if you just want a one-time boot order. So I'm going to say enter for yes. It's going to start reboot, and I'm going to start pressing on my F12 over here. Good. So let's see what happened there. It comes up and it gives me, if you look closely, it gives me a few options. It sees a legacy, it calls it a legacy generic flash, right? It sees that, and that happens to be the USB disk or USB key that I have in there. That's prep. It's a Linux disk, and below that it shows SATA 2, which is the DVD, and then even further below that there's my hard drive, and then there's network. So if I want to select my USB, then if I go right down there, I have selected my USB disk, and I'm just going to press enter just to show you that it's going to engage. I'm going to say enter, and now this is a one-time thing. Next time it's not gonna, if I just boot into my system, it's not gonna just, even if I left my disk in there, it's not gonna by default skip everything and boot off that disk, that USB disk. So right now what it is doing, it's looking to boot up off of that Linux USB key. And I hope it's a good one that I put in there, because I have a few of those, and I'm pretty sure. So This one is Windows 11. Linux usually take a little time to start. This one is Rufus. And okay, that was actually a Windows disk. So that's what you would do on a one-off when you just want to load Windows or load something else. So for example, I have a USB key for, I think this is it here. I have a USB key for Zorin, which is a really nice operating system, Linux operating system. And oh yeah, so there it goes. That's a Linux operating system. And I could use this, boot up off a live, and then I don't have to load it. I can just play with it. So that's just a point there, that I could actually just boot up off this. I load Windows, and then once I restart, it's gonna go back to the normal boot up, right? So that's it. That's just giving you a little quick tip there, how you can make your computing a little bit faster, right? And don't overthink the USB type. Like I said, just use it. Most USB nowadays will work, right? This again will work for the ThinkCentre M series. So I'm talking about the M2, the M3, M83, M900, M910, and even more, right? So hopefully you find this very useful and you will be able to use this shortly. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, to share, and subscribe. Drop me some love and subscribe there. Thank you. Have yourself a great day now.